If you believe the universe follows a purpose, or that there is any kind of order behind existence, you're going to be disappointed. Because beyond the stars, far beyond the reach of reason, there are entities so ancient, so incomprehensible, that their very presence turns every human belief into a cruel joke. These are not gods in the way we understand gods. They don't want worship. They don't respond to devotion. They don't hear prayers. They are the indifferent rhythm of chaos itself, the raw pulse of a universe that never asked to be understood. And despite everything, people still insist on calling out to them through rituals, music, or madness, convinced that something out there is listening. Maybe that's true, but the things that listen aren't what you think. They're worse. In this video, we're going to examine the 15 most dangerous outer gods ever recorded in the Lovecraftian mythos. I'll list them in ascending order of threat, not because that will help anyone survive contact with them, but because, in the face of such horror, the only thing left to do is try to understand what should never be known. Let's begin. You'll never see its name in Lovecraft's original stories, but its shadow flickers just beneath the surface, especially in the festival set in the ancient and decaying town of Kingsport. There, deep beneath the earth, something rises, a green flame, silent and unnatural, illuminating an eldritch rite without casting heat. That is Tulzscha. Never named, but unmistakable, Tulzscha is one of the outer gods, part of Azathoth's insane court at the center of the universe. A god not of fire, but of unraveling. A cold, vibrant flame that burns nothing, yet corrodes everything. In texts like the Encyclopedia Cthulhiana, it is described as a lesser outer god, a being of flickering green light that breaks reality simply by being present. When summoned to Earth, it emerges not as a monster, but as a vertical column of flame erupting from the ground. It doesn't move, it doesn't speak, it simply is. A standing fracture in the fabric of the world, its radiance a kind of slow, quiet annihilation. Metal rusts in seconds, wood withers, skin ages, plants turn to ash, animals rot from within. Even time itself distorts, compressing years into minutes and making consciousness stretch like melting wax. Its glow doesn't warm, it chills, not like ice, but like the death of meaning itself, a stillness that gnaws at the soul. Its presence is often accompanied by an alien humming, a vibration you don't hear but feel inside your bones. And unlike most entities in the mythos, Tulzscha asks for nothing, no devotion, no sacrifice. It has no will, no message. Those who worship it are not chosen. They're simply those who stood too close, those who gazed too long into the green light and began to rot from the outside in, or from the mind outward. Tulzscha doesn't destroy you with violence. It lets you decay until there's nothing left but truth. And truth, in the mythos, is never merciful. Tru'nembra does not appear in Lovecraft's original writings, yet its echo resounds through the expanded mythos, particularly in the works of Lynn Carter and other post-Lovecraftian authors. It is not a god in the way we understand gods. It is not seen nor felt. It is heard. Born from the infernal flutes that screech at the heart of Azathoth's court, Tru'nembra is not a creature, but the music itself, made sentient. It has no shape, no flesh. Tru'nembra exists as vibration, as frequency, a resonance so pure and so alien that it defies structure and logic. Ancient texts like the Ponape scriptures and the songs of Yghaygha speak in hushed tones of the sound that walks, a melody so perfect, so utterly dissonant with our reality, that it can fracture steel, make ears bleed, and split the psyche open like rotting wood. Its appearance is rare and always tied to music. Some are chosen by accident, musicians who, in their pursuit of mathematical perfection or emotional purity, echo the rhythm of the outer gods without knowing. Others invoke it intentionally through lost scores crafted for summoning. Either way, once Tru'nembra hears its own reflection, it comes. It doesn't arrive with footsteps. It arrives with pressure, a storm of sonic force that tears the performer from their world and drags them through a dimensional rift into the blasphemous core of Azathoth's court. There, the unlucky soul becomes part of the eternal performance, an instrument, a vessel, a note in the endless symphony of chaos. Some whisper that the missing movement of Beethoven's 10th was a gateway. Others point to hidden tonal structures embedded in the Voyager Golden Record. But all agree on one thing: Tru'nembra doesn't kill, it plays you. And once it begins, it never stops. There are said to be compositions lost or forbidden that can repel it. Arcane harmonies built to unravel its essence and force it back into silence. It can even be wounded by certain spells, though attacking it is a risk few survive. For when Tru'nembra retaliates, it does so not with claws or fire, but with sound. A single note so powerful, so pure, it detonates reality itself. Let's talk about one of the most ancient and most disturbing entities in the entire mythos. Its name is Ubbo-Sathla, and if the outer gods represent chaos, madness, or annihilation, Ubbo-Sathla is something even stranger: origin. It doesn't come from the stars. It doesn't whisper secrets or shatter reality with its gaze. Ubbo-Sathla just sits, hidden deep beneath Mount Vormith-Adreth in the prehistoric land of Hyperborea. It festers in a dark, forgotten cavern, an immense pulsating mass of gray sludge. No face, no voice, no mind, just endless, mindless creation. Clark Ashton Smith described it as the unbegotten source, a biological engine that predates gods, planets, and even time. It constantly produces embryonic life forms that ooze out of its bulk, some squirming away, others melting back into it like unfinished thoughts. There's no intention behind this process, no purpose, it simply is. And that's what makes it so terrifying. Some say Ubbo-Sathla is where all life on Earth began. Others claim it was a failed experiment, something the Elder Gods made and then abandoned. Either way, it's not dead, and it's not asleep. It's waiting. But the worst part? Ubbo-Sathla is said to guard the tablets of the Elder Gods, primordial stone relics that hold secrets from before the universe even existed. Truths no human was ever meant to know. But to reach them, you'd have to pass through the sludge itself, and no one ever comes back. Touching Ubbo-Sathla doesn't kill you, it erases you. You don't rot, you don't scream, you just come undone, cell by cell, thought by thought, until there's nothing left but warm, ancient slime. The kind of death that doesn't feel like dying, just forgetting. There are cults that worship it, but not for power or salvation. They worship it because they want to be erased, to return to the beginning, to dissolve into the raw, indifferent soup from which life crawled out eons ago. Ubbo-Sathla doesn't judge, doesn't hate, doesn't care. And maybe that's the scariest part, because in the end, everything that lives might just end up back in the pit, where it all began. No one truly knows where it began, only that it never stopped growing. Some believe it predates the stars, others say it emerged from a deeper void, a place untouched by time or form. But whatever its origin, its expansion is endless. Described in obscure mythos fragments like the Scrolls of Leng and the Gaharn texts, this entity is said to be a vast root system that stretches beneath the very fabric of existence, not just the earth, but space, time, thought. A living structure that pulses beneath reality itself. It doesn't dwell in one place or moment, but twists through dimensions inaccessible to human perception. Cultists call it the root of all things, but they misunderstand. It isn't the source of life, it's a devourer. It absorbs anything it touches: blood, memories, wood, metal, even ideas. And what it returns is always altered, not reborn, but hybridized. A horse fed into its mass might become a beast of impossible strength and endurance, utterly wild, devoid of empathy. The sap of an ancient oak could yield trees immune to fire and disease, while poisoning the soil beneath them forever. It's not just physical. This root network extends through time itself, threading across pasts and futures. Its presence distorts causality. Days bleed into years, histories twist, outcomes reverse. There are tales of seeds planted in the present erupting into monstrosities in the ancient past. And yet, its influence isn't always monstrous. Some of the things it creates are useful. Creatures that resist fire, voices that can rewrite thoughts, bones harder than steel. But the line between miracle and abomination is thin, and it only takes one miscalculation to bring forth something that cannot be stopped. The great mistake every cult makes is thinking they can cultivate it, that they can shape this force like a harvest god, feed it, direct it, reap its gifts. But this isn't a god of cycles or fertility. It's hunger dressed in roots. And when the harvest comes, it doesn't care who did the planting. It didn't begin with birth, it began with a fracture. In the litanies of the Black Sun, it's described not as a creation, but as an event. A spontaneous fission from Azathoth itself, a moment of divine malfunction. What broke off was not a child, but a mass. A seething, shapeless conglomerate of protoplasmic hunger, twisting and bubbling with the raw chaos of its origin. This entity, originally conceived by Clark Ashton Smith, settled far from the center of things. On Yog-Sothoth, the cold, dark world we now call Pluto, it wasn't banished, it drifted. There, in silence and shadow, it multiplied. Two of its offspring, Nug and Yeb, emerged from its mass and eventually abandoned it, unable to withstand the endless consumption. And from Nug's line, the horror known as Cthulhu would later be born. A legacy of hunger passed down like a curse. But the being itself didn't stop. It never stops. Over time, its mass began to evolve, splitting again and again into new forms, some vast and masculine, others grotesquely fertile and feminine. Depending on the rites performed, it can appear as a towering god of teeth or as a womb-like presence lined with mouths. In either form, the result is the same. Life is born only to be devoured. Creation and destruction in a closed loop, an eternal cycle of self-cannibalism masquerading as fertility. There are texts like the Second Epistle of Ibon that suggest this thing is both parent and child, male and female, one and many. It is not bound by form or identity. It consumes those things, just as it consumes flesh, thought, and time. It is not worshipped in the traditional sense. It is feared, because unlike most gods who demand sacrifice, this one is the sacrifice, a cosmic body that feeds on itself and everything around it. And if it ever takes root again in our world, then life itself becomes a temporary illusion, just fuel, just meat. Now we reach one of the most feared and strangely revered entities in the mythos, Shub-Niggurath, also known as the Black Goat of the Woods with 1,000 young. Lovecraft mentioned her name multiple times, always in the context of cults, rituals, and ancient terror, but he never described her. That omission only fueled the fascination, because when something remains undefined, our minds fill the gap with the worst possibilities. Most later depictions agree on a general idea: a massive, shapeless entity, mist-like but fleshy, covered in writhing tentacles, gaping mouths, and constantly leaking a dark, viscous fluid. From this grotesque form, creatures are constantly born, twisted things that defy logic. Some escape into the world, others crawl right back into her, as if nothing was ever separate. These creatures are known as her dark young, and they reflect exactly what she is, the embodiment of a perverse fertility. Not creation as a blessing, but creation as excess, chaotic, uncontrolled, and unstoppable. Her worship isn't limited to one culture or time period. Her cult spans from ancient civilizations to modern secret sects, always hidden, always violent. Sacrifices, blood rituals, and desperate prayers for favor are common, and her presence lingers in every era, whether through forest ceremonies or experimental genetic cults in the future. If any part of you feels like you've been close to something unknowable, if you've ever felt watched in the woods, or like your name is being whispered by something you can't see, you might not be a follower, you might be an offering. So if anything even remotely resembles a ritual in her name, walk away, fast. Ghroth does not speak, it does not strike, it doesn't even acknowledge, it drifts. A massive celestial body, rust-red and fractured like a dying moon, trailing silence and extinction wherever it goes. Its most disturbing feature is an immense, unblinking eye embedded in its surface. Some say it's a symbol, others claim it's alive, but all agree. When that eye turns toward a world, something ancient stirs. Ghroth isn't just an object, it's an omen, a harbinger of cosmic collapse. Its approach is never predicted, never observed until it's too late. Planetary magnetic fields fluctuate, weather turns rabid, and tectonic plates begin to convulse as if the Earth itself were trying to escape its presence. Entire species vanish without a trace, and minds begin to fragment under the pressure of an intelligence that never even speaks. Some cults believe Ghroth was responsible for the extinction of the dinosaurs. Others whisper that its eye awakens what should never rise again. Entities buried beneath continents, buried beneath time. It doesn't kill like a god of war. It doesn't deceive like a god of chaos. It just passes through space, indifferent, inevitable, and in doing so, reorders the boundaries of reality. When it opens its eye, it doesn't see, it remembers. And what follows is never death, but something much worse, a return to what once was, before memory, before matter, before us. If the universe had a waste pit, a place where failed creations and biological mistakes were dumped, it would be Abhoth. This is no metaphor. Abhoth is a real entity in the mythos, first described by Clark Ashton Smith. It's said to dwell in the deep, lightless caverns of the underworld beneath the land of Yoth. And it doesn't speak, move, or plan. It simply exists. As a massive bubbling heap of gray, formless flesh, constantly producing. It generates life, yes, but not life as we know it. What spills from its bulk are malformed things, limbless crawlers, eyeless mouths, half-formed skeletons that twitch for a few moments before collapsing back into sludge. Some of these things escape, most don't. Some get eaten by their own creator, others are absorbed like they were never separate to begin with. There is no clear purpose, no divine message. Abhoth is creation without control, mutation without direction. Those who serve it don't come to pray, they come to offer flesh, bone, offspring. The cult of Abhoth believes impurity is truth, and that all things, no matter how refined, must eventually return to their imperfect origin. And Abhoth waits. Its influence isn't loud or explosive. It's quiet, slow, biological. It festers in the dark, beneath forgotten cities or inside quarantined laboratories. Anywhere excess life and corruption go unchecked, it thrives. It won't end the world in fire or madness. It'll just absorb it, one mutation at a time. Some gods speak in symbols, others in dreams. Daoloth speaks in space, by tearing it open. Known as the Veil Ripper, this outer god doesn't visit our reality so much as invade it. When it manifests, the structure of space breaks down. Geometry folds. Lines that should be straight twist into spirals. Hemispheres spin in unnatural patterns, and thin metallic rods intersect in ways that violate the logic of three-dimensional space. To look at Daoloth is to go blind, not because your eyes fail, but because what you're seeing doesn't belong here. Witnesses describe a shifting mass of geometric parts, gray cylinders, floating spheres, surfaces that reflect nothing. It doesn't bleed, breathe, or move like a living thing. But somehow, it is alive. When this thing isn't properly contained, using tools like the Pinnacle of Planes, its form begins to expand, quietly, relentlessly. And anything caught in that expansion doesn't burn or disintegrate. It's displaced, taken out of our layer of existence and pushed into somewhere else. Some victims reappear days or weeks later, speaking in numbers and formulas no one understands. Others show up in the wrong century. Most never return at all. Despite this, there are those who seek it. Astrologers, cult priests, and dream cartographers from places like Yog-Sothoth and distant star temples believe Daoloth offers clarity, a way to see the past, the future, and the true nature of reality itself. What they get is something very different, because Daoloth doesn't reveal answers. It removes the question entirely. Before fire had a name, before light had form, there was Ycnágnnisssz, Originally hinted at by Clark Ashton Smith as a black, formless mass spilling rivers of lava, this entity was later expanded by Richard L. Tierney into something far more terrifying. Not just a god, but a seed of Azathoth, born from chaos to spread destruction, replication, and entropy across the cosmos. This entity is not flame in the way we understand it. It's not rage or punishment. It's inheritance, pure energy, set loose. It emerged from the black star of Soth, a place said to lie beyond time and matter, where unimaginable horrors are born. From there, it moved outward, driven by three instincts: spread, consume, multiply. And it does all three with terrifying efficiency. It doesn't burn randomly, it selects, it feeds, on heat, radiation, nuclear force, whatever energy source it can find. Stars go dark in its wake. Planets are drained until only frozen rock remains. Civilizations disappear not in firestorms, but in silence, siphoned dry to power the next wave of its spawn. Those spawn aren't metaphor, they exist. Flame worms, solar parasites, luminous predators shaped from decay and heat. They travel like embers caught in solar winds, falling into systems, igniting new collapses. Many mistake its presence for natural disaster. Stellar implosions, gamma-ray bursts, strange pulses from dead suns. But some records, like the Forbidden Scrolls of Nam, speak clearly. There is a shape behind the explosion. A crown of fire, living plasma, a pulse that repeats like a heartbeat. Some say it still drifts through our solar system, hibernating near gas giants, drawing in energy from solar flares, waiting for the right moment to awaken again. Yghaygha doesn't make war, it doesn't leave ashes, it leaves successors. And when it arrives, the light you see is not dawn, it's legacy. Now we speak of Yghaygha, the Star Eater, an eternal cosmic entity that drifts through the vastness of space, devouring stellar bodies without warning or mercy. Wherever its path leads, stars vanish, consumed in silence by a force that predates even light. Its nature is described as a feral trinity, a manifestation of boundless power spread across what are known as the realms of silence. These are dead zones between galaxies, where blind cities crumble and landscapes of pure desolation serve as the throne of its profane empire. Its avatar, known as the King of the 12 Thrones, defies all human understanding. Those who try to comprehend its form see only a black mist rising from a faceless, empty head. Its body is made from collapsing voids and primordial forces, crowned by a robe, an endless cascade of folds and shadows that spills across the entire dimension it inhabits. And Yghaygha doesn't sit on a single throne. It rests eternally on all 12, at once, in all directions. Its followers, few, desperate, and insane, offer tributes not out of devotion, but in search of its inhuman wisdom. Ancient texts claim that whoever can decipher Yghaygha's will shall obtain dominion over the very laws of the universe. Because this being is not just a devourer, it is the beginning and the end, the living promise of a destiny sealed by the unbreakable cycle of destruction and rebirth. Guarding its will are monstrous heralds, bone-stitched hybrids of serpent and hound, loyal only to Yghaygha. Their sole purpose is to protect a single human. Queen Elois, the god's living concubine. Her fate is not chosen, it is bound, a fragment of the unknowable order Yghaygha represents. This god does not rage, it does not punish, it simply exists as the unavoidable end of all light. And when your sun begins to dim, it's not death you're witnessing, it's Yghaygha, reclaiming what always belonged to it. Unlike the rest of the outer gods, Nyarlathotep walks among us. He doesn't slumber in the center of a blind universe. He doesn't drift through space as a rotting moon or glow from beneath the crust of forgotten planets. He walks, he talks, and worse, he understands. This entity is the mouthpiece of the outer gods, the only one who speaks our languages, who shapes himself to our nightmares, who wears 1,000 faces, and each one is tailored for maximum harm. Sometimes he appears as a pharaoh, black-skinned and immortal, walking the sands of ancient Egypt under the name Nephrin-Ka. Other times he possesses scientists, dons lab coats, and whispers into the minds of those racing to split atoms or decode forbidden signals. Under the guise of Dr. Ambrose Dexter, he allegedly influenced the creation of the atomic bomb, not for victory, but for demonstration, a reminder that the end can be engineered. He doesn't destroy with fire or claws. He destroys with progress, with ideas. His miracles are technological. His revelations are psychological. Wars, mass hysteria, religions designed to fracture the soul. These are his gifts. While the others rot, burn, or consume, Nyarlathotep infiltrates. He persuades. Worshippers of Nyarlathotep don't chant. They obey. And most of them never realize whom they serve. That's the most terrifying part. You never know if it's him until it's far too late. Yog-Sothoth is not in the universe. It is the universe, and everything beyond it. A conglomeration of luminescent spheres, iridescent and constantly shifting, said to exist simultaneously in all times and all places. It sees all, knows all, remembers what never happened, and anticipates what must. Unlike Azathoth, who dreams in blind chaos, or Nyarlathotep, who meddles and whispers, Yog-Sothoth is still. It waits at the threshold, never crossing, never retreating, but always aware. It is the gate and the key, the keeper and the lock. It guards the boundaries between dimensions and between thoughts. Its avatar, Umarak Tawi, the guardian of the last gate, is said to manifest at the edge of reality, where the dreamlands fracture and bleed into waking life. Those who encounter him are often dreamers, mystics, or the terminally curious. Many attempt to contact Yog-Sothoth in pursuit of forbidden knowledge, ancient power, or shortcuts to transcendence. And some succeed, but every answer he grants is like an infection. The more you understand, the more you unravel. There are books that contain its name, incantations that trace its essence, keys that open doors no human mind should ever step through. Yog-Sothoth doesn't demand obedience, it only offers truth. And truth, in the mythos of the outer gods, is the cruelest punishment of all. Before anything had shape, before time, light, gravity, or thought, there was the mist, not a vapor, not a fog, a presence, a force. The primordial exhalation of Azathoth's blind chaos, drifting beyond all dimensions, from which sprang the first of the outer gods. It is known only through fragments of forbidden lore, and even then only as Magnum Innominandum, the Nameless, because to name it is to reduce it, and nothing about this entity can be reduced. It is said to be the progenitor of Yog-Sothoth, and by extension, of everything Yog-Sothoth perceives and touches. While Azathoth thrashes at the center of creation in brainless madness, the nameless mist spread outward like a placenta of unreality, shaping and unshaping, weaving contradictions into the cosmic fabric. Its nature is not evil. It's not even alien. It's prior to comprehension, to being, to division. Wherever it passes, reality becomes suggestion. Space-time distorts, mass dissolves, not violently, but subtly, like forgetting how gravity works, or watching causality itself lose interest. People who encounter it describe feeling displaced, like memories are being resorted in real time. Others vanish into vapor themselves, becoming part of it. There are no cults to Magnum Innominandum because it is not worshipped, it is recognized. By those who stare too long at black stars, or who trace the genealogies of gods until the names start overlapping, until all paths lead back to the same void. The mist is not a god in the sense that it acts, it simply is. And in being, it teaches that everything else is a temporary hallucination. Azathoth does not dream. He is the dream, the origin point of all madness, the seething nuclear chaos at the center of infinity, pulsing with no mind, no purpose, and no plan. All things, gods, time, physics, terror, exist as a byproduct of its twitching body, and it is unaware of them all. Azathoth lies at the absolute center of the universe, surrounded by a court of other outer gods who dance and convulse in perfect obedience. Around him, a cacophony of flutes, insane, shrill, endless, keep him lulled in slumber. Because if Azathoth were ever to awaken, reality itself would end. Not from rage, not from will, but from indifference, because the cosmos is merely his unconscious dream. In Lovecraft's vision, Azathoth is the ultimate symbol of nihilism, power without intelligence, creation without meaning. He is the anti-god. And yet, there are cults, secret species and ancient civilizations who revere him, not out of love, but out of fear, because he exists, and because something worse than annihilation is to be noticed by something that cannot comprehend you. But here's what's truly chilling. The race that worships Azathoth is not made of man, or beast, or even matter. They are thought forms, parasitic intentions, and their only goal is to keep the music going, to maintain the illusion of stability. They manipulate timelines, seed false religions, implant dreams and obsessions in scientists and occultists, all to avoid what cannot be stopped the moment the flutes go silent. Azathoth is not a destroyer. He is the cancellation of context, the unmaking of everything. And the closer you get to him, the less you understand why you were ever afraid. Because to fear requires a self, and Azathoth will take even that. Now you know them. 15 entities beyond good, evil, or anything resembling human logic. Beings that don't rule, don't listen, don't answer. Some, like Nyarlathotep, walk among us. Others, like Azathoth, aren't even aware we exist. But they all share one trait that makes them infinitely more terrifying than any biblical demon or mythological god. They are real, within a framework our minds were never built to grasp. In Lovecraft's vision, the universe isn't a battlefield between light and darkness. There are no chosen heroes, no destined saviors. There is only the indifferent vastness of the cosmos, and you, a fragile observer caught in the middle. That's why praying to them is pointless. They don't hear, they don't punish, they don't forgive. And yet, some still try, seekers, madmen, dreamers, driven by power, obsession, or the quiet horror of a meaningless world. But here's the real secret. The horror of the outer gods isn't what they do, it's what they reveal, that the universe was never meant to include us, that our laws, our gods, our logic, are scaffolding at the edge of a void. Every time you dream of impossible things, every time you feel reality bend at the corners, maybe one of them is there, watching, or worse, completely unaware. And perhaps that is the final truth. There is no victory, no escape, only the abyss and the hope it never looks back. See you in the next descent.